Terry, on this very stage not long ago, there was an amazing performance, Elbow and the Halle. Just briefly, how were the acoustics of that?
I mean, I'm terrible. I've managed bands in the past, so the acoustics...
That doesn't make you terrible, that makes you a good human
well, no,
being.
I get overly critical about it. So I wasn't sure if you could marry up the electronic instruments with the sound of an orchestra and still, you know, get the acoustics of a hall right. I thought it was a fantastic occasion. I thought Guy Garvey's voice was brilliant. And it was, you know, it was something special, I think, in terms of the international festival, that it was something everybody understood.
Special is exactly right. Let's hold that, because I was lucky enough actually to go to the rehearsals. So let's take a look.
This is the most extraordinary experience that the members of Elbow have ever had. A wonderful, world-class orchestra on our doorstep, agreeing to work with us. Not only are they extraordinarily talented, but they're absolutely everything that this city is famous for.
The Halle is the oldest symphony orchestra in Britain and part of Manchester's musical DNA. Odd then that it owes its existence to two very non-Mancunian figures. Founded in 1858 by a German pianist, Charles Halle, who single-handedly took on the musical education of an entire city. The legendary conductor of the New York Philharmonic, John Barbarolli, also fell in love with Manchester when he took over the Halle in 1942.
Barbarolli talked very readily about his link with the city of Manchester.
I've grown to love it. You feel if you achieve anything here, that you really achieved it. Soon after I'd arrived, I was conducting Hanley. And somebody asked for an autograph during the interval, and I said, of course, bring him in. So he came, and he took my hand and shook it in a grip of iron, and he says, "Wonderful concert, sir, so far." And I never forgot that. He wasn't going to, the first half had been all right, but he wasn't going to commit himself. And I'm glad I heard that early in my career in the North. I thought, if you didn't care, damn, I came from New York or anywhere else. I was now in Manchester. And that was that.
Barbarolli and Halle's firm belief in cheap seats for all was a rather revolutionary idea, and the orchestras continue to shape the musical life of Manchester right up to the present day. And it's now taking Elbow's melodies to new and unexpected places.
I'm going to get the audience to join in with the singing as well, but I'm also going to ask them to stamp and clap. So can you stand your feet? Let's see what it sounds like. Oh no, that's going to be all right, that.
I managed to grab a very thirsty guy for 5 minutes during his break.
Oh, full on day.
Guy, I guess you're one of those musicians who could collaborate with many, many people if you wanted to. Why the Halle?
One of those many things that's happened over the last 12 months that I would never have dreamed was possible. And the Halle mean an awful lot to anybody from Manchester, I think, but particularly to me, because I used to go and see him with my granddad and with my sister when I was growing up. And it was outstanding. It was just mind-blowing, you know. There is a sense of community in Manchester's music scene, which absolutely that the Halle stand for. But I think it's just this area of the world. You know, you're not allowed to get too big for your boots and consider that you're somehow elevated when you succeed. You just share it. That's what the city's about, I think. Right, great, okay. The idea of working with an orchestra, with Elbow, at first was terrifying because none of us can read or write music. And we just assumed it'd be an incredibly difficult job. But in actual fact, we only dealt with Joe until most of the arrangements were written.
Conductor and arranger Joe Dudell has worked with Elbow on the project since July last year.
Joe is from an indie music background as well as a classical background, so it's actually been an incredibly enjoyable experience, very, very easy.
So he's much more than the middleman.
We've been at pains to point out since the project was announced that this is about Elbow and the Halle doing something together. The fact that most of the music is based on our songs is balanced with the fact that Joe has had totally free rein to orchestrate the songs however he wants. There are some truly original pieces of music that he's come up with, which may borrow a melody here and there from our stuff. But yeah, it's very much about the meeting of the two bands.
Is it like a leap of faith? You have to let go.
Yeah, it's definitely a leap of faith, but at the same time, there's nothing more flattering than hearing something you wrote being played by such amazing musicians.
I've been working on a concept of grounds for divorce.
This fusion of Manchester old and new, pop and classical, Elbow and the Halle, has not only sold out the Bridgewater Hall, but has drawn 5,000 music fans to the nearby Castlefield Arena to see the concert live on a big screen. But which band have they actually come to see?
Probably more the Halle Orchestra, because I used to go and see them at the Bridgewater Hall when I was little with my grandparents, so it's a bit of a nostalgic thing to come to this.
Came down today because it's a really nice day. Everyone seems to be out enjoying themselves. We just thought, why not? It's a beautiful evening. Bring some food, have some fun.
There's a lot of booze going around and there's a lot of happy people here.
I was probably expecting it to be loads of people sort of kind of our age, but then I think the orchestra's pulled in a slightly older audience as well.
That's why they do things like this, I guess, collaborate to open new doors to people and make people realise that it's not sort of yesterday's culture, it's still relevant to today.
But the doors to the Bridgewater Hall were still shut to many. Tickets were limited and sold out within hours.
As a matter of interest, the tickets were £1,000 on eBay to get into the Bridgewater Hall tonight, so there's 5,000 exclusions that it doesn't need to be that way.
It's a shame we couldn't get tickets, but this is the next best thing really to see it on a big screen.
The other one cost 50 quid to get into, this one's free. It can't really butts all the criticism, it's an elitist event as well. Anybody can turn up here, it's a great atmosphere, it's a really good night out.
But it's not just a good night out, it's an opportunity for people to see two Manchester bands come together to create something truly extraordinary.
There we go. Drinking in the morning sun, drinking in the morning sun, shaking off the heavy wall. Yeah, heavy like a loaded gun. What made me behave that way? Using words I never say. I can only think it must be love. Oh, anyway, it's looking like a beautiful day.
Terry, as a gig, how did it fuse together?
It was very emotional. I mean, there were people that I knew came here and they were all crying, especially all the girls, you know, because I just thought they pulled it off.
Josie, you grew up in Salford.
I did.
Not far from here. Was that concert, did that in any way evoke the Halle that you remember as a kid?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the experience of coming into this hall is so amazing. It was a free trade hall when I was growing up, when we mainly went to see work. And there was something so thrilling about that concert. I mean, I was completely seduced by the entire experience. It was just lush.
Clemency, Joe Didell and Guy Garvey were just saying that they wanted it to be a genuine collaboration. And Joe Didell did restructure some of the music. Did it feel for you, though, as a classical musician, that it was a kind of classical concert with an indie band added on?
No, I think it was very much Elbow's concert. I mean, it was an amazing night and a completely, I mean, he said it was a very, very lovely thing, and it absolutely was. I was very jealous not to be Mancunian that night, I have to say. But I think for me, the only problem was that it slightly underestimated what the Halle are capable of. They are one of the greatest symphony orchestras in the world, and for me, the orchestration kind of rendered them just a glorified backing band, really. There were lots of lush strings and the odd tremolando, so I felt it was much more an Elbow night with a bit of Halle backing, which is fine.
I'd agree as well. There's something triumphantly private about it, I think. You know, if you were a Mancunian and you've been watching that band since, like, 1997.
I thought it was pretty brave, though, the way Guy Garvey every day for about 2 weeks having to rehearse on this stage with that orchestra and always be up for it. And actually, it must be pretty daunting to go public when your fans are used to just 5 of you, 4 of you. with all of that behind you?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely hear what Clemens is saying, but I think one of the most wonderful things about it was that it was a collaboration between a band and an orchestra that felt completely unpretentious. That there was nothing about it that was showing off, which is a great sort of thing that Mancunians are very cautious about. And I thought he played the tone of it very beautifully.